welcome back, guys. Another thing I wanted to talk about. So I just recorded another video just now. It just led me from thought to thought. Like now I'm thinking a bit deeper into something I was talking about. Now it's the concept of the potential, like your potential in the future, right? And I think it applies to everything in life. Okay, I'm reading something like, Warren Buffett's book, The Snowball, which it's been like 3 weeks now. This book is massive. It's 700 pages and the pages have a lot of words in it. And I'm reading I'm trying to get like an hour, 2 hours a day in. Like sometimes I'm very busy, so I only get half an hour to read. Sometimes I get, an hour and a half, 2 hours, which is mad. But something that he talks about, and I learned this from his book, and I just wanted to explain how it applies to me and how it most likely applies to you in your life. Okay? First of all, forget about the video, it doesn't matter that I'm I'm putting it at this angle. I just really want to talk about this and reinforce this in my head. It gives me motivation. It's the whole point of when you spend money, for example, right? You go, you want to go I want to buy this, this new car, for example. And it's too expensive. You're spending money on something. It's not really worth it. It's like it is worth the car that you're buying. Say it's worth 40 grand. You're paying 40 grand. It's worth it. The car's worth the money, but you don't need it. Okay, that $40,000 that you spent, you can do it in two ways. You can buy it as a lump sum. You go pay 40 grand cash, like in your account or cash, whatever, or you can get it on finance. Now they're both not good. First, let me explain that, and I'll explain why. If that 40 grand is money that you had saved up and you have no assets, that you physically worked hard for that money, you went to work every day, you woke up early, you went to work, you hustled and you grinded for 6 to 12 months to make that 40 grand, and you go and put that lump sum money into a car. In the moment, you're like, yeah, it's mad, it's worth it, it's 40 grand, it's a car. It is, and it's worth it. It's worth the $40,000. But it's not worth your $40,000. Why? Because that was your hard-earned money. What does that mean? So a lot of people, that means nothing. It makes no sense. Let me tell you this, that $40,000, if you invested that money into property or into anything, whatever it is that you want to invest into, if you invested that money as a lump sum, now, when it comes to property, that 40,000 turns into 200,000 in leverage, depending on where you're borrowing from. If you have no assets, if you're just starting to get into property, they'll give you a loan on 20% or 30% deposit. So you with that 40,000, you can get you get decent, you get something. You get between 140 to 200 to borrow, and you can use that on a lot of things. Okay, to invest, property wise. And you build your portfolio, and the money that you make from these investments, what are they? They're other people's money. And then with that money, you go and buy a $40,000, you go buy a $200,000 car. Not a $40,000, you go buy a $300,000 car. But the point I'm trying to make is, the money that you're spending, it's not just the dollar value that you're spending. If you spend 40 grand, it's not just the 40 grand, you wasted 40 grand. No, you wasted the potential of that 40 grand. You know what I'm trying to say? That 40,000 could have been 200 grand to buy a little property that makes you $400 a week. And then when you fix it up and you refinance it, you get another property. And then you do that again and you get, after 5 years, you got 10, 20 properties. Then you use that money, the money that you're getting from your investments, which is not your hard-earned money, and then you go buy a $300,000 car. Don't waste the potential of your money. Another thing, that was all assuming you paid lump sum in cash. Alright? Now, imagine you go, okay, let's say you done it on finance. Okay? 40 grand over 5 years, it's about what, 40 grand over 5 years, what's that? It's 200, 300, 400 a week, depending on your interest rates. I've never bought a car on finance, so I can't tell you the exact numbers. Say you're spending $300 a week on finance for a $40,000 car. It might be that number's not accurate. I've never bought. I don't know the interest rates on finances, but it's on finance cars. But I know it's a lot. It's a waste of money. Anyway, you go spend 40 grand on a car on finance, and for the next 5 years you're paying $300 a week. Okay, $300 a week if you're on a good wage doesn't sound like a lot of money. Okay, but the problem is is the potential of that $300 a week. That $300 a week, you can spend that on a lot more important things for yourself. First of all, like, you can spend it on books, you can spend it on education, educating yourself, not going to school or going to uni, no. Education, personal trainer, for example, teaching you how to lift better. You can spend that on a mentor in whatever you're in, whatever industry you're in, or whatever you want to improve yourself in. You can spend that on seminars. You can spend that again on books that you're reading constantly. You can spend that on better food instead of eating Macca's every day or after work or whatever, just, on fast food and rubbish, garbage food. You can spend that $300 a week on yourself. That's an investment on itself. That's one type of investment. The second type of investment is an actual investment. $300 a week. If you followed what I said before, you borrow 200 grand for a house, you renovate and you work on it all in 200,000. Your mortgage on that is like $250 to $300 a week. You see what I'm trying to say? You're sacrificing the potential to buy a house that's going to make you money until you die, and you're going to pass that house on to your kids. You're wasting that potential because you decided, I want to show off a nice car. I want to show everyone that I've got a $40,000 car. I want my co-workers to see it. I want my family to see it. I want all my friends to see it. Wherever I go, I want everyone to know that I've got 40 grand for a car. And I guarantee you, 3 seconds after they see the car, they forget who you are. Your friends, they don't care. They don't care. Your mate that drives a $2,000 Civic has better friends than you, has a better life than you. He's got more loyal mates. He's got a better family. Why? Because he doesn't attract people with his car. He attracts people with himself, with his personality. I'm not saying don't buy a nice car. I'm saying don't waste your potential to buy that nice car. There's so much more things you can spend your money on for the future. It's one of those things, instant and delayed gratification. I learned this from Hamza. He's a famous YouTuber. If you're thinking about having that pleasure and that reward now, you're going to suffer later. You're going to have to make sacrifices later. Your future self is going to look back and say, I wish I didn't do that. I can tell you this from experience. This son is crazy. I can tell you that from experience. I've never spent 40 grand on a car, but I spent 15 grand on a car when I was like 19. I think I was like 18, 19, yeah, something like 19, maybe 20. I spent 15 grand on an XR6U, black. It was really nice. It was cracker, and I loved it. But I wasted so much money on it. Like, it was 15 grand. I put an exhaust, which was like $700. I bought rims that were like, I think $500-600. And the petrol this thing used to eat petrol. Like, no word of a lie, I was spending between $200 to $300 a week on petrol. It was a V6. It was a straight six, sorry. I don't know what it was. It was a 6-cylinder. Can't remember the configuration. 4 litre. It was a weapon. Because that 15 grand that I spent buying the car and doing it up a bit and petrol, bro, I could have bought a house with that money. Like, right now I'm I'm working really hard to get that money to buy a little house to start my portfolio. But I spent that on a car before, man. Like, I went to Europe. I think I was like 21. I can't remember the ages. About 21. I bought a car. I went to Europe. I wasted time, this and that. I could have started 3 years ago, but I wasted my potential. You spend time playing video games as a kid. Okay, you're wasting time as a kid, then enjoy yourself when you're young. But the thing is, when you enjoy yourself when you're young, when you're old, you're going to suffer. You're going to sacrifice. Instead of sacrificing now, you're sacrificing later. You got 3 kids. You're married, you got 3 kids, you're 40 years old, and you're telling your kids we can't... Sorry. You're 40 years old, you got 3 kids, you got a missus, you're struggling. You're telling your kids we can't go out today because I don't have money. Why? Because when you were 18, You were spending that money that you're supposed to spend on your kids. You're spending it out with the boys. You got 6 bags in your nose, cuz. You're out drinking every weekend. You make however much money you make in the week, you spend it all entirely on the weekend. You got that pleasure and that reward now, and you're suffering in the future. You're sacrificing in the future. You have to look at your son and say, I can't go to your soccer game today because I have to go to work so I can make money to feed you. That's what you're telling your son in the future. You're going to suffer in the future. Your son is going to suffer. He's going to have to go alone to his soccer game because you're at work. Why? Because when you were younger, you were wasting your money. You wasted your potential. And that's what I think about on a daily basis. Why do I work so hard now? Why do I wake up at 4 a.m? Why do I meditate? Why do I go to the gym? Before anyone's even awake, I'm already beating my personal records at the gym. And I'm not saying this to show off. I'm saying because that's my motivation. Why do I do all of this? It's for my son. It's for my future self. It's for my future family. My kids, my grandkids, my direct family, my parents. I'm doing this for everyone around me because that's my job as a man. When I wake up early, I'm thinking not about myself. I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about my family in the future. Who's going to look after them? Who's gonna raise my son? Am I going to raise my son, or is the society going to raise my son? If I'm not there to teach my son all these little things, who's going to teach him? Everyone else. If I can't be there for my son, who's going to be there? Everyone else. Everyone else is going to tell him, oh, it's all right to be like this. It's all right, you know, society, especially the internet and everything in the Western countries. Like, I don't hate Western countries. I mean, I live in Australia and I love this country, but I don't believe that this country is a good place to raise kids the way you want to raise them. And if I'm not there, it's even worse. I can raise my kids in this country if I'm around, then I'm taking care of them. But if I'm not, if someone else is, if the internet's raising them, it's no good. If the society is raising, if my son's teacher is telling him to shut his mouth, he can't talk. Stay quiet. You want to go to the toilet, you have to ask for permission. If he thinks that's normal, then I've failed as a dad. If a young boy who's growing up is listening to his feminine teacher telling him you can't go to the toilet unless you ask for permission, or you have to go to the toilet at recess, brother, I fail as a dad. If I can't be there for my son's games, the soccer games, and whatever sports he's into, whatever he's doing, if I can't be there for him, then who am I? What kind of dad am I? He's going to go there on his own. He's going to say, I wish my dad was here. He's going to look at all the other dads supporting their sons, and he's going to look at me when he gets home. He's going to be like, why wasn't he there for me? I'll tell you why. It's because if that happens, it's because I wasted my time. I wasted my potential. The money I could have made before, I spent it on going out. I spent it on this. I wasted my time. I wasted my money. And my kids are going to suffer. I can suffer now, sacrifice now. I'm not even suffering. I'm not even sacrificing. I'm enjoying this. This is my purpose in life. I can do all of that right now. And then in the future, I enjoy it. In the future, with my kids enjoy it. My kids, they get a good upbringing. They're more comfortable. They're not necessarily bludgeoning. No, absolutely not. And they're not going to get any money from me either. And this is my plan. This is my plan for my kids. I'm going to make it. There's no way I'm not going to make it in life. If I follow this plan, if I follow this lifestyle day to day, every single day, and I hustle and grind, if I'm up every single day before everyone else, and I'm breaking records when everyone's still asleep, there's no way I'm not going to make it in life. And I guarantee you that. Okay? My kids aren't going to have all the money they want. No. I'm going to give them everything they need. I'm going to make sure they get the best education. I'm going to teach them a lot of things. And I'm going to spend a lot of money on mentors and trainers and personal trainers. All these things that they're going to be completely like, I'm going to pay for all of that. But spending money, they're going to make it. They're going to go invest. They're going to do all of that. I'm going to teach them. I'm going to be the best mentor I can possibly be for them. Okay? And the money that I have, I'm going to spend it on their upbringing, on their knowledge. But everything else is on them. But I can't do that. If I wake up late and go to work late, why? Because I spent all night playing games. You know, I had a PlayStation in my room and a computer. I used to play RuneScape on one screen. I had 2 screens on my desk. And ask my mates, they know. My mates will tell you. One screen, I used to watch Netflix shows. And the other screen, I'm playing RuneScape or playing PlayStation. Always, 2 at a time. I'll finish work, I'll come home. RuneScape, the login screen is still there from yesterday. And on one screen. On the other screen, my Netflix is paused from yesterday night. Now with RuneScape, you gotta close the browser and reopen it, because after 24 hours, you gotta reclose and open the client. But that's all it was. And if I kept doing that till now, my kids are gonna suffer. I'm gonna suffer. My kids gonna suffer. My parents are gonna suffer. My family, we're all gonna suffer. Because why? Because I chose to be happy now, and I wasn't even happy. I was just wasting time. I thought I was happy, but I wasn't. And that's life.